Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Tonight we're going to look at how to use the Lunar Bow. This one took me a little while. It is actually kind of a tricky boat to use. It's the first time that we actually take... Oh, it's snowing. Look at that. That's the first time I've seen snow. That's really cool. It's the first time that I've actually had a boat... Oh, my crew is out on the deck. That was not unintentional. These guys probably need to rest. It's the first time that I've actually had a boat that you actually... It seems like you really have to... you have to work at fishing. Like, you don't just get to go out there and throw a net. You actually have to participate in the fishing venture. So let's go ahead and start heading out to sea, and we'll start talking about the boat and some other things. Now, one of the mistakes that I made early on in the series of tutorials that I've made is talking about selling prices and how they don't really matter. There's actually one place that really does matter. Right across the bay there is the Centrum, or downtown area, of Hammerfest. And in Hammerfest, you have... hang on, I need to shut that off. There we go. You have a market at the Centrum, so across the bay here. If you look on the map, it's just south of our current location down there. That's it. Hammerfest Centrum. They actually have a fish market. The fish market's open certain hours during the day. I can't pretend to know exactly what the hours are because I've never actually sold there before. There you can see the bay right there. That little pink spot up there. If you bring your load into the Centrum market, you know, during the hours that the market is open, you will actually make significantly more money. I mean significantly more money. So it is definitely worth waiting till the hours are open, and you can go over there with your boat and park and read the hours to see when those are and make the decision to sell when you're ready to sell. But you can make a lot more money. Lee, my one of the guys that I talked to about this game a lot, he actually did a fishing run where he brought in the Lunar Bow fully upgraded. He brought in $17 million worth of fish in one load. So it's definitely worth getting involved in. My music thing is gone. I can't turn that. I wanted to... Music's really loud for some reason. I'm going to turn that off for now. So that's just something to be aware of. The Central Market is a little bit different than some of the other markets that we've worked with before, and you definitely want to get your reputation up there and then sell there if you can. The downside with that is, well, let's look at the map. With the Lunar Bow, I mean, or it's probably Lunar Bow, to be honest with you, because it is a ship, and we're talking about a bow and a stern and all that stuff. But then again, it could be a bow because you're hunting with it, really. You're fishing and hunting. So it could be a Lunar Bow, like, I don't know. And plus, the moon kind of looks like a bow. I don't know. I'm not Swedish. If you are familiar with the actual ship, the Lunar Bow or Lunar Bow, leave a comment and tell me what it actually is. Is it bow or bow? But either way, I call it the Lunar Bow for right now, till I find out for sure. You have to travel all this way, and you're looking at, if you're, usually I just go to this market here in Tufjord, but it's a lot closer. If you go back and forth here, I mean, you're talking at least $100,000 in fuel to travel from here up to here, if not more. I mean, this ship is ridiculously expensive to run. It is just super, super expensive to run. So be aware of that. Things that are nice about the Lunar Bow or Lunar Bow, it is. We're gonna send that guy out to repair the boat that's got 98% damage. It travels when you're going full speed. I don't know why I just turned my throttle off. At about up to 28 knots. Now, when it's got a full cargo hold, it's slower, but it's still over 20. And that's with just the base engine. I have not upgraded the engine. But the one thing I wanted to tell you, before you buy this boat, and this is super, super important, make sure you have an extra 2.5 million crown, or krona, because you will lose money with the standard cargo capacity of this ship. When you first get the Lunar Bow, the cargo capacity is only 45,000 kilograms. That'll bring in about the same amount of money as the Vebeki. So you're going to bring home $400,000, but at the same time, you're going to use $200,000 or more worth of fuel, and you're going to have to pay your crew. So you have to have a minimum of 4 on this boat, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want you to know that the expenses are killer on this boat. And it is not worth buying unless you have enough money to upgrade it. Now, the first cargo hold upgrade is 2.5 million crown. And, wow, it sounds like a lot, but what I want you to notice here is it takes it from... and I upgraded it again, so now I actually have 650,000 kilograms. So we're gonna be out trawling for a while, but it takes it from 45,000 kilograms. That first upgrade takes you up to 200,000 kilograms, and with 200,000 kilograms of space, you now have enough to bring in about $2.5 million worth of fish each haul. So at that point, then your fuel cost is only 10% of your overall take, and so you're really not losing that much money, and so it's worth it. Oh, and by the way, this ship now leaves port. I actually saw it out at the edge of the map the other day. It was when I was out trawling. It was, as I came back into port, it was out there in the same area that I was. So it actually moves around now. So we now have 2 AI ships. There's this one and at least that I know of, and the cruise liner that also leaves port. So that's pretty cool. We have ships that move around now. But anyway, so just be aware that the seagulls fly sideways. Backwards flying seagulls. So just be aware that you do not want to buy this boat until you can afford to upgrade that first storage capacity, the pet capacity upgrade. And I would recommend, like I think it was 2.5 million krona. It was at least 2 million krona. So if you have the 14.9 million krona for the loan, or for the to be able to purchase this outright, don't do it. Wait till you have like 17 or 18, even more maybe, and you have to upgrade that storage capacity at least 1 notch. Get it up to 200,000 kilograms. Because when that happens, once again, you'll bring in $2.5 million. Your fuel cost now becomes 10% of what your earnings are, and so you actually make a decent profit with this boat. As you can see, I've done about 6 runs with it, maybe 5 runs with it. I'm sorry, my kids are all sick, so if you hear coughing and hacking going on, it's because they all have head colds. They're congested and stuff. I'm next. I'm sure I'm going to get it because everybody's got it. They're coughing and sneezing all over the place. Anyway, I can see I almost have 10 million krona, and that's from 3 or 4 trips with the new cargo hold. So it's definitely worthwhile, but it's a pain to get if you don't get it first. So don't bother buying the ship. Second thing I wanted to cover is the crew. All right, so our crew is we got a 4-man crew here. The only thing on this boat that the crew needs to do is to set the trawl and to haul the trawl. That's it. So you don't need all 7 crew members. Now on the Hermes you will, because on the Hermes someone's going to have to freeze, and there's going to be I think there's 1 spot for freezing, and there's 2 spots for stacking. So you're going to also need those extra 3 people to freeze and stack. So 1 crew can run the nets. And the other thing that you need to know too is the crew that runs the nets, they don't have to be super high stamina, because you pop them in there, you set the trawl, and then you put them to rest. And then you go trawling for a little while. And then when the nets get full, you put them in the haul trawl, you haul it back up, set them back in set trawl, set the net, drop the guys off. Depending on how fast you're catching fish, that makes a big difference. And if you're catching a lot of fish quickly, and the trawling's a little bit of a luck thing. Depends on just where you drop the net. Your crew members can keep up, or they're not going to. But anyway, they're not going to tire out too quickly. That's my point. You'll be able to use them for quite some time. If they do tire out, you can just rest them for a while and take a break from trawling and then continue. But you don't. You can see here I hit almost 30 knots. I mean, this thing's incredibly fast. But but for this boat, you don't have to do any freezing. You don't have to do any stacking. So you just haul the trawl. And so you only need 4 crew members. You don't need to have 7 crew members. And I did have 7 at first, and of course they take like 20% of my income when I get 28% of the income when you get back to the bay. And I was like, you know what, I don't need this. I'm gonna dump, you know, I was able to cut out maybe like 12 to 13% of my costs just by getting rid of the extra 3 crew members. So I don't need them right now. But if you're nervous about them not being strong enough to maintain the Hermes, I don't know. I haven't run the Hermes before. I would think they'd be fine, and they'll build up stamina pretty quick. But you know, you can use your. These guys are all my hero crew. So I'll use these guys to do the freezing and stacking, and I'll use the newcomers to set the nets and bring them back in. The difference between the Lunar Bow and the larger Hermes is that the Hermes is a bottom trawler. This boat is designed to trawl kind of the mid-level. So we're not pulling stuff off the bottom of the ocean. We're pulling stuff off the middle of the ocean. You can see here, the nice thing, another thing that's cool about the Lunar Bow, the radar is huge. So you can see here we've made giant leaps in our unlocking of the seas. You can see all of the places that I've been with the Lunar Bow. Pretty much I just go up and down with the Lunar Bow, but this is just one passage from here and back again, and you can see exactly how much I unlocked. I unlocked this huge portion of the sea. So this boat could also be a good scouting vessel. In fact, there are missions from Tufjord where they want you to go whale watching with people, and you spot whales. And I haven't done those missions. I tried to do it once and it crashed, so... But you can see how many fishing grounds I've unlocked with this boat just by driving around, and I'm sure the Hermes gets even better. So each time you upgrade the boat and you upgrade the radar, you get a much better detection system. Pretty soon we'll have the whole map unlocked for our fishing boats. But trawling's where it's at right now because we can bring in so much more money with these boats. So, all right, I'm going to head on up, and we'll go ahead and do a couple trawls, and I'll show you how to do it. It's fairly simple. It's not too hard to do, and we'll fast travel. So let's go ahead and get our boat up there. Boaty McBoatface. There she goes. I love the stuttery audio. And we're getting into the region where we can jump out to sea. So when you get near that boat icon, what happens is you're going to get this little go to open water. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go to open water. It doesn't really give us a new map. It just gives us open water. And then when we want to go back to dock, we click on this, and we'll go, where did my mouse go? There, it's hard to see with the snow. We'll return to port. We're not going to do that right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to get our crew out there. And I do one thing that's very naughty. You're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to trawl. Go ahead and put the throttle up here. At about 3 knots. I found that it doesn't work. I found that the trawling actually works best at about 6 to 7 knots. Anything over 5, like 5 to 7 knots is where I trawl. As your net gets fuller, you will not be able to even maintain that speed. The boat will begin to reduce speed because you'll have to keep increasing throttle. But we're going to get right around 7 knots here. I want to back down a little bit. I'm getting too fast. So we're going to go inside the boat, and we're going to walk to the back of the ship here. And we're going to sit down, and I've got my computer set up the way that I want it. You can adjust the screen. Here we can see we have, there's our ScanMar system. I've put in, I bought all the sensors, but that's another thing too. You need enough money to buy all the sensors for the boat too. So I'm still speeding up, so I need to, oops, wrong button. Yeah, come on, get me out of this. Oh, I got to exit out. I need to slow the throttle down just a hair. Go back in the screen and look around. I've set it so that I bought all the sensors. This is my catch sensor. This shows you how many fish are going into the net. I don't know what these other readings are, but this shows you the fish. This shows you the depth of the net itself, this 200. These 2 depth meters show you the depth of what are called the doors, okay? And those are those 2 blue things on the back of the boat. The doors kind of help guide the net. You can also set these to, you can change this around any way you like. You can set this up however you like. This is what I found was the useful information. So I try to keep my doors around 70 or 80 meters and the net around 100 meters. As the net fills up, though, it'll start to drop pretty drastically. Like you'll end up about 400 meters depth when you're done. Over here we have how far apart. This shows right here, this 10-1, and that shows if the doors are going closer together or farther apart. This shows basically our gate, which is how wide the net spread. The wider the better, obviously, because more fish are going to fall into the net when you have a wider spread. So the faster your boat goes, the narrower this gets. So, but I found once again at 7 knots, it still seems to stay pretty wide enough that we catch fish. Now, at 3 knots, it used to take me almost an hour to catch a full net full of fish, sometimes longer. At 7 knots, it can take as much as like 10 minutes. Usually, it's more like 2 to 3 minutes, and you're full. Right here's our catch sensor over here on the left, at the very bottom. And you can see there's a 10%, 20%, 30%, 40, or I'm sorry, 10, 20. 40 and 60. Once I hit the top of 60, I shut operations down. If you go over 80%, it's going to be really hard to pull that net in. Pardon me. It's going to be really hard to pull that net in if you get up to 80%. In fact, I've had it before where it gets stuck. That's a bug. But you don't want to go over 80%. So these are all sensors that you buy. Make sure you can afford those when you buy the boat, because all these sensors, I got all of the sensors I could buy. Now, the ship does include a joystick that you can upgrade the boat to, where you can actually control which direction the doors travel very minutely. I don't really use it. I found it didn't work real well. So I don't think it's worth spending the money for, and I catch enough without using it anyway. So I just leave the joystick alone, and it's, fine. So that is my setup over here. We have our nav window, obviously. And then to the right, we have our radar. You'll see this kick into action when we start fishing. And I'll kind of explain that to you as we go. But on the right here is that the bottom right, you'll see where the doors are. You can see kind of where the fish are. So let's go ahead and set our net. I'm ready. There goes the doors are going to pop off when I do this. Boop. There they go. The doors are popping out. And then you can see the crew working there. They're setting the net. You don't actually see the net go out, but it's out. And we'll have to give it a little bit more throttle as the net goes out. We're adding weight to the back of the boat. Not weight, but drag to the back of the boat, and it's going to slow our boat down. Unfortunately, this screen, you can't see it real well when you're in this view, and there's no zooming. It's a little bit of a disappointment, so I have to kind of just guess at what my speed is, because it's really hard to read the speed. You can see the gates have not gone down very far. They're at 9. They're slowly descending. The net's already 100 feet down, and our sonar is not kicking in for some reason. There it goes. These balls of light are fish. Now be careful, because you might be able to catch whales. And the whale will come up as a kind of look like your boat. That's your boat there in the middle. You can see the starboard door and the port door are spreading out, which is good. Right now we're not catching any fish. Over here on the left on the HOC meter, that fish, that's 0. That means there's no fish going through the net right now. So it might take a little while for us to catch some fish. And the crew is done. They can go rest now. So I would set your crew to rest so that they're fully rested. There they go. And we're just going to keep an eye on here. We're going 6.1 knots. And we're coming into a large lump of fish according to the radar. But they might already be, I think when they get to be this big, they're already past our net. Like these blue circles are what we would be catching. Unfortunately, they're off to the side. Once again, it's a matter of luck. You might trawl for, an hour and not catch anything if you're real unlucky. Usually you catch stuff pretty quick, though. But there, now I'm starting to catch fish. I'm sorry. We're getting, for a second there, we were catching 5 fish. I think that's per minute maybe, or per second. And you can see we've already filled up a portion, maybe like 3% of our net is full. Now, before we get to having to use these, I want to show you these. On each side, you have basically the line control. You're going to shut these off when I get to about 70 or 80, I shut them off. The net will continue the doors will continue, the doors will continue to pull away from the ship and descend, but slowly once I turn that off. So, hey, what's up, Goose?
Love you.
I love you too, kiddo. And then when I want to pull the net back in, I put these in full reverse, and it'll drag the net back in. So, but they still need to go out a little further. And you can see on the radar, the ship is actually getting really close to that. We're going through a school of fish right now with the radar. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Oh, now we're catching a lot of fish. Look there, we're up to 6. My net's getting to be 20% full. 7 fish per minute, or 77 fish per second, and we got up to about 20, yeah, maybe 30%. And I'm dropping speed because the net's getting full, so we're gonna get out. You cannot control the throttle when you're in that screen, which sucks. So you have to hop out here, do the throttle outside, then go back in again. And the things that they did in this game, that's one of the bugs. That, for me, that's a big bug, not to be able to control your throttle while you're looking at a computer screen, especially because this is how you fish in this game. So, in this portion of the game anyway, you definitely should be able to control your throttle while you're in the screen, because that's a big part of what you're doing. Okay, so we're about 70 here, so I'm going to shut these off. They'll still descend, but they won't descend as quickly. So right now these are off, and we're not catching anything. There's another. Oh, we're going to get a nice hit here, though. See that right there, that bloom? That's going to be a nice catch, I bet. Because it's going to, our net, if you think about it, if our net's at 192 feet, and we're losing speed again, so I'm going to have to pop out. You can see I'm already, like, probably almost full throttle. Because that net's getting heavy. So you figure these are at 70 feet. This is at 190 feet, so here's the boat. Here's 70 feet down, or 70 meters down. So 200 meters down would be about here. So the net's hanging somewhere in this area. And I think we're going to pass right through that big school of fish. That probably will be the last thing that we need to catch, honestly. That's probably going to fill us up. 5.5 knots. Holding. 5.4. I'm going to boost it up just one more level. Maybe 2. And we're passing through that cloud of fish. 5.6. Hey, we're starting to catch. We got 5 fish per minute. Or second, or whatever. And we're catching, and back down to 0. Holding at 5.5 knots. You see, now that we're holding, the net's no longer descending. Yeah, maybe a little bit here and there. And it will, because it's getting heavy. But as the net descends and our doors don't descend, you can see they're starting to pull closer and closer together. Right now they're 58.6 meters apart, I think. This is not right. Something got changed here. I must have bumped something. Anyway. Catching 3 fish per minute. We're up to 40%. And the boat's starting to struggle. I'm at full throttle right now, and we're still losing speed, so that's good. That means we got a lot of fish. 60% almost. That's the end of our catch. 5 per minute, and they're going up. Look at that. And the fish are gone. I would say that's probably a good haul right there. So let's go ahead and grab that and bring it in. Now, with the new hold, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to do that, but let's go ahead and we'll call our crew out to the deck. I'm going to start the process of these pulling up. I'm going to shut the throttle off and let the boat slow. But you want to keep some throttle on, because what will happen is the boat will start actually the net will pull the boat backwards. So you're going to pull these guys out, get them ready to haul the trawl. We have to wait until the net's within 25 meters of the boat before we can haul it. So we're just going to, you can see the nets are still dropping even though I've got them on pull. And let's watch, keep an eye on our knottage here. And they're slowly pulling back. You see they're 85, they're still dropping. Even with this on, and that shows you that's a heavy load, you know? It's straining the boat. I'm going to cut my throttle back. Oh, we're going negative 5.7 knots, that's why it's dropping. I'm going to hop outside so I can actually read my speedometer. So again, I try to keep around 3 or 4 knots going forward when we're doing the loading process. You can see the spool turning there. We are pulling the net back in as best we can, but we're just not getting much traction. There we go. Forward motion, forward motion. Don't let the net descend. It makes sense. If you're going backwards, even if you're pulling it in, the net will still descend faster than it'll get pulled in. So yeah, now you can see the numbers are going down. We're at 79, 78. And we're still catching some fish. Don't know how that's possible, but luck, I guess. That's one of the reasons why we want to pull the net in sooner than later, because all of a sudden we'll be over, and it's going to be really hard to pull that net in. So once we start hitting that 60 boxes, when I usually start pulling it in. So let's see right now how fast we're going, 0.3. So I'm going to give it a little bit more forward motion. Just kind of keep it so I'm not going into the negatives. And that net is slowly making its way up. Merry Christmas, everyone. I know it's like the middle of spring, but next year, for next year. Jingle bells. So we're holding pretty steady. I don't know where the crew is, but they're working on the net. It's not close enough yet. This will turn blue. You'll see these sticks go back to neutral position on their own, and this will turn blue, and you can use it. So we're just kind of holding here. It'll be soon. Now the net is deep, but the doors are what we have to worry about. So we've got a really good load here. I'm gonna say it's probably a 20% haul. But this is how you trawl, though. So you're gonna just keep doing this until you got your hold full. With the 200,000 liter hold, or whatever their kilogram hold, the 200,000 kilo hold. It took like 2 or 3 hauls to fill it up. I'm imagining with this new 600 kilogram hold, it's going to take like 9 or 10. It's going to take me a while to do that. This is probably, nope, not ready yet. So we're still hauling it in. We can just watch the stick. I'm surprised. Usually when we're at that depth, it's close enough. But trawl net. Well, maybe the net needs to come up more. We've broken the net. There we go. Okay, so we're going into trawl mode. You don't have to do anything at this point. It does everything automatically for you. This is what the crew is doing. The net has come out of the depths. It looks kind of weird, doesn't it? It does. All the seagulls are here. Got the beautiful Aurora Borealis going on in the background there. And we are pulling this load in. And the fish are getting pumped. And the game's going to crash. I'm just kidding. So we brought in about, almost 100, or a little bit over, let me think about this, 70 plus 30. Yeah, so just a hair over 100 kilograms of 100,000 kilograms of fish. You can see with my giant hold, that's only a percentage. So I still have 544 kilograms left. So I'm going to have to do this several more times to fill this boat up. But that's going to probably be about 10 million krona worth of fish when I have a full hold. So we just have to keep repeating the process. We're going to take this guy and pop them over here. I'm going to start the boat back up again, get it up to about 6 knots. And drop the net again, and so we just rinse and repeat, and that is the process of trawling, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a fun boat. It's actually probably the most interactive fishing that I've done in this game, which I like. I feel like it's a definite fun thing to do, and you're actually in control of a lot more. You know, now you don't steer or anything like that, but you actually have to keep the throttle at the right speed, and it's a pretty intense part. How do I put this? I feel like it's the most simulated part of the game so far. Really, the other stuff, you're just dropping stuff off and picking it up. So here we're actually, doing some serious fishing. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and we will see you next time on Fishing the Barents Sea. Once I get the Hermes, we'll make the final 6th tutorial until some DLC comes out. But hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I really am loving this game. I think it is a great, relaxing game. Pop the music on, watch some Outback truckers on the television, and get some fish. That's how I do this. So anyway, have a great night, guys. See you next time. Thumbs up always help. Be sure to subscribe if you really like the channel. go out to my main page, click on Arthur Chapman anywhere in this video. It'll bring you to my main page, and you can click on the Support Arthur button. That money goes directly to me, and it comes back to you because that's how I buy these games. Anyway, have a great night, guys, and we will see you next time on Fishing Barents Sea.